Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a holiday. It's just the wrong day. Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's getting to be
Yep.
6 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and gavel our way and call the meeting to order. And we'll take the roll. Aldrich,
Here.
Bigford,
Here.
Helmrich,
Here.
Marcy,
Here.
Osmond here. All are present and accounted for. The next item is for Griffin to give us the Zoom instructions and a little bit of etiquette.
Thanks, Cindy. As I think most of us on the call today are pretty familiar with, I'm going to go over just a few quick instructions for us to hopefully help make the meeting go as smooth as possible. First off, just as a friendly reminder, please say your name before speaking if possible. I don't see anyone calling in on the phone, but it makes it much easier for them to understand who's participating. Also, please mute yourself when you're not speaking. If anyone is on the phone, *6 is how you can mute and unmute yourself on the phone. Please don't click any unknown links that may be shared in the chat. The township does not plan to share any information that way, so be cautious with anything that may come across. This meeting is being recorded, and I will do my best to get it up on YouTube early tomorrow for anyone to watch who may not be able to participate tonight. Please be respectful of those speaking and don't interrupt. And if anyone is disruptive to the point of preventing the township board from conducting their regular business, I will give you one warning, and after that warning, you will be removed from the meeting. This hasn't been an issue. We've been quite successful to this point with these remote meetings, so I don't anticipate anything other than that. And lastly, please be patient with us as we're continuing to get used to using a new technology. But with that, we'll go over a few instructions prior to public comment. But other than that, I will turn it back over to the supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. We have to look at our approval of agenda. Is there someone that would like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the agenda of our November 11th, 2020 meeting.
I will support that.
Any
I think we
discussion?
need to.
I see
do it-
there was something written. You want me to read that? I move
Yeah,
to
because
approve
we
the
have
agenda
to-
and to ratify the procedures for public participation and meeting conduct as described in the notice of public meeting via video conference.
I will second that as amended.
Okay, is there any more discussion? I'll go ahead and call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes, motion carries. Next item is going to be turned over to Abby Bigford, our township clerk, for our swearing in ceremony for the oath of office.
So I have been sworn in, and so has John, in the office. So that is what we all need to do at some point, so we can have that done in person and documented in our affectionately referred to swear book. But it's really, it's nice to do it symbolically, and we can do that now over Zoom. So if all the members of the board could repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do
I
solemnly
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will
I will
support
support
the Constitution of the United States
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of
and that I will
And I
do
will faithfully
faithfully perform the duties of the office of supervisor.
the Cindy said supervisor.
Trustee.
Brenda?
I did. Oh, trustee.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're supposed to do it
And
separate.
John.
Treasurer, said it.
In and for the Township of Saugatuck.
In and for the
And for
township
the
of
township of
Saugatuck,
Saugatuck,
County of Allegan, and State of Michigan,
County of Allegan, and State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me
so
God.
help me God.
Congratulations, you all. It's an honor to serve with you, and I look forward to swearing you in person as well at some point in the hopefully near future.
And just to
Thank-
that point, notaries can swear you in. So both Lori and I, who are there every day.
Oh,
And
okay.
Cindy can as well. The supervisor is may do that as well.
Yep.
All
Lots of
right.
options.
Do we have a time limit on that or?
January 1st, I think, right?
Okay.
I thought it was November 20th, but
Oh, okay.
I'm in quarantine.
You-
I don't know if I'll be out by then. Yeah, I'll do it through the window.
do it out the driveway.
you
Do it outside.
Your term doesn't start until November 20th. You can
Okay.
get sworn in at any point before then, but you have to get sworn in before the beginning of the new calendar year, or if you don't, your office gets vacated.
Oh,
So
Okay.
yes, please try to get sworn in by November 20th, but it needs to be done by the end of the calendar year.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Graham.
Thank
Our
you.
next- Our next agenda item is going to be with our township manager, Mr. Graham, who is going to read to us and have us swear to the Athenian oath.
Thank you. And I appreciate you all humoring me with this tonight. First off, congratulations on all being reelected. It's a pleasure to continue to work with all of you. As the supervisor mentioned, one of the items that you all are going to humor me with tonight is stating the Athenian oath. Just as a little background, this oath was stated by young men who hit a certain age back in ancient Athens to swear and state their loyalty and their service to their community. This oath was something I learned in graduate school and was something that to this day, many local governments around the country use or post or state in various forms to really signify the purpose of what we all do as local government managers, elected officials, and other staff. So if you all wouldn't mind, I will go ahead and read this through to you. And if you all would like to read along, you're more than welcome. So to start, we will never bring disgrace on this, our township, by an act of dishonesty or cowardice. We will fight for the ideals and sacred things of the township, both alone and with many. We will revere and obey the township's laws, and we will do our best to incite like reverence and respect in those above us who are prone to annul them or set them at naught. We will strive
Decently.
in the public sense of civic duty.
Thus,
Thus, in all these ways, we will transmit this township not only, not less, but greater and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. And if I can, I'd just like to highlight two parts that always stand out to me. One is right at the very end where it says, we will transmit this township not only, not less, but greater and more beautiful than it was to us. This always really stands out to me as one of the pieces that I think we all forget sometimes, which is this organization, this government is going to be here and going to continue to do things much longer than any of us will ever be in these positions. So I think it's important to remember, what is our obligations? What are our duties? What are we really here to do? And that is to make it a better place at this time while we can. And then when that time ends, we get to hand it over to whoever comes after us, hopefully better than it was handed to us. And then the only other thing I'd really like to highlight more towards the beginning is when it talks about fighting for the ideals and sacred things. if you notice, Sacred Things is capitalized, and that's very intentional. Sacred Things is different for every community. So ancient Athens, they were going to have their sacred things. What were the things that were very special, unique, made their community worth saying all these other things about? So I would urge and challenge all of you in the upcoming weeks, especially in leading up to our goal setting session. What are the sacred things to you all of Saugatuck Township? What are the sacred things in the Saugatuck Douglas community? What are the things that set us apart, that make us special, that we should be fighting for? So with that, I am happy to turn it back over to the supervisor, and thank you all for humoring me with that.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. That was very, very apt and apropos. We have
I'd like to add,
President.
Mr. Graham, thank you for bringing this to us. And it's not humorous, but don't worry. I think we fully embrace it. As a lifelong student and reader and follower of the Greeks and the Athenian democracy, I appreciate it and thank you for it.
Okay, I believe we have a presentation by Lisa. Will you say your last name for me, Lisa?
Mize,
Mize, just as easy as it
Mize.
looks.
just how it looks. And then
Very-
Griffin, will I be able to share the screen?
I can do that. Give me 1 second. Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay. Can everybody see the mission statement?
Yes.
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 Great. Well, first, hello, everybody, and thank you so much for having me. Griffin and I spoke a couple weeks ago and concluded at the end that it would be beneficial for us to meet and to find out, bring you up to speed with what we've been doing and exactly who we are and what we're here for. Just a little background on me. I grew up in this area. I'm from Fenville, graduated from Fenville High School, worked 4 years at Cranes and 4 years at the Coral Gables through college. And my family has deep roots here. My dad taught school at St. Pete's. My grandparents used to dance at the old pavilion. So lots of family ties. But I do have a marketing degree from CMU. And then after that, I was in sales for a magazine and then a radio station in Holland and Grand Rapids, and then Fox TV in Grand Rapids. So I do have some marketing background. But we're going to talk about the CVB and what we're here for. So I thought it would be good to put the mission statement up there and let you guys see that we're here solely to promote and market the area, Saugatuck, Douglas, and Fenville, even though if I give this presentation to Fenville, I'm going to have to put them on there because it's not good when they see that they're left off. I think they feel that way a lot. But we're a membership-based organization. We have assessments that are collected from the lodging members, and those assessments pay for the marketing and promotions. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, we began working with a marketing firm on a project basis, Creative, out of Spring Lake. And almost a year ago, January, we decided to hire them as our marketing firm. So you're going to see a presentation tonight of everything that Concept A has been able to do for us this past year and amid the pandemic. I'm going to switch the screen and I'm going to kind of go through this quickly. There's a lot of slides and I don't want to do all of them. I want to leave some time if you have questions at the end, but a lot of it is numbers and I don't think that's all necessary. So this was the marketing strategy that was implemented this year. Let me see if I can go faster down. And again, this is what Concept A had. What their goal was to further evolve the lifestyle brand, drive better continuity between all of the marketing touch points, drive more awareness and business for the shoulder seasons, It goes through who our target audience is, primarily travelers 30 to 79. Secondary target audience was the LGBTQ community.
Lisa, are you trying to show slides?
Oh, are you not seeing this?
No,
I'm not.
we're stuck on mission statement.
Oh, I'm glad you said something. How about now?
Yes,
Yes,
Yay.
Perfect.
So now
great. All
if
right.
if I scroll, are you going to see it?
yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So target audience. Who we were trying to reach, not just demographics, but also where. Who do we want to draw from? So obviously a large part of our audience is Michigan, but then we also draw a huge crowd from Chicago, Indiana, Ohio. This is the traffic that comes to our website, saugatuck.com, and where the majority of them are coming from. So you can see Chicago, Illinois is one of our biggest, and then Detroit. And then we look down at the longer drive market, like the Cleveland and Cincinnati, and these are markets that we may look at and decide that we want to spend some more time marketing to them, since they've got an interest as well. You'll see that obviously Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo has about 7%. We don't market a lot to that area because we want the overnight people. We want the people that are going to come and spend the night. So when you look at the marketing for Saugatuck, you'll see a lot of things that are involved, not just the brand creative and the development of the website, but the photography assets, but because those drive a lot of the advertising. Public relations is so important, and you'll see at the end that we got a lot of really good PR this summer. Our digital and social, and we have a gal in Chicago who does all our digital and social. She's amazing. Our ad buying. There's a Beach Towns group that if you care to know what that's about, I'd be happy to talk to you about it later. And then obviously Pure Michigan that is being funded again, but not nearly at the same level. So these were the areas that we were going to focus on for the 2020 year. Social media on Facebook, how we grew our impressions, our engagements, everything was just through the books, through the ceiling there. Facebook ads, you'll see the engagement rate and the engagements, the reach. The reach is how many people actually saw that. So it's amazing how the one with the chain ferry got over 4,000 people that saw that. And then engagements where they actually clicked on it and did something. Instagram, same thing, wonderful summer. Our goal was to have 10,000. I think we're right now around 7. And then social media for Instagram. And our social media gal was interested not just in posting, but she wanted people to engage. And they did that through a lot of Instagram stories. And also direct messaging. Twitter, we do have a Twitter account. She does post to Twitter, just not as much as the others. But I don't know if you remember was it January or February when Fox started talking about these ice volcanoes? It was crazy how the rest of the country went nuts for that. And the Fenville poppy fields too. Mm-hmm. You may not realize that we launched a brand new website in July. So when you get a chance, go to saugatuck.com and just kind of look around. It's gorgeous. It's much easier to navigate, more user-friendly. And the biggest change to the website, besides how it looks, is that we added what's called Book Direct. And now people can search for their lodging right on the website and make their booking right from the website, which they've never been able to do before. And then obviously the website has to be populated with things and information. So a lot of web articles have gone onto the site that you can read when you're there. And this is just the grid that the marketing firm uses to make sure we're covering everything. from the topics across the top, from weddings to culinary, pet-friendly, LGBTQ, a girls' weekend. We want to make sure that this gets populated, that you see dots where. I'm going to slide through those. We also have an e-blast that we do monthly, and it goes out to about 14,000, and we're planning on growing that number as well. So we feature different things that are happening in the area for the upcoming month. So our November newsletter, you may have received it. I try to get you guys all on that newsletter. But the November newsletter just went out, and it's talking about what there is to do for December, the holiday shopping, hopefully if there's snow, things to do outside, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. And then the metrics from the email campaigns that have happened so far. We also did digital advertising on Google and Facebook. Beautiful images that were taken. This was obviously the aerial shots, but then you'll see that the different digital and Facebook ads down at the bottom, and which audiences they were targeting. So we spoke to families, we spoke to couples, we spoke to girlfriends, we spoke to LGBTQ. We covered all the bases. And our total ad spend, this is probably a good time to tell you that when the pandemic hit, we cut way back on our spending. So we didn't know what to expect for the summer. We didn't know if people would still come to Saugatuck, and we cut the budget by 50%. However, the board made a very intelligent call and said, we will not cut digital. They decided to go through with all Facebook, all Instagram, all of that. And they continued to build the website out. They could have stopped that, and they chose not to. So the website was up and running in July. All the digital ads still went. Our billboards were still up. Some print advertising that we had already had reservations for last January in review. And then this is for Pure Michigan, the spring summer guide. This picture was just taken last summer. It was a gorgeous day. And I love it that it got Mount Baldhead in there. These are the billboards. This was the one for spring and summer. And then the one on the right just went up in September. And that's walking through the Saugatuck State Dunes, the Dune State Park. So I talked a little bit earlier about what good PR we got this summer. And the ones across the top, Condé Nast, Fox Business, Travel and Leisure. We were so excited when the New York Times ran an article about us. And then these are all the accolades underneath. They're listed on the website. So if you're interested, you can always go to the website and click on any one of those, and it'll take you right to the article. This is due in large part to having a professional PR person in Chicago, and she's pushing our stories out, and they're getting picked up. There's also something called a FAM trip, or familiarization trip, and it brings influencers in or writers into your area. Typically, we pay for their lodging or some of the things that they do, but then they come and they bring their families sometimes, and they do all the fun stuff, and then they write about it. So this was one, Cheryl Eugenio from Chicago Parent Magazine, that was here this summer, had a great time with her kids. Some of the pictures that she took and posted on social media are down here. And we got a great article in Chicago Parent and also a digital one as well online. So the FAM trips are a nice way to go as well. Craig Watson, we've been working with for photography, and these were taken late summer. But these are some of the assets that he took for us, and we'll probably be using some of these to promote next summer. So it just gives you a good sampling of what he's done. You'll see that we've tried to get the audience to be inclusive. We got to Fenville. This was wonderful. The yoga on the paddle boards was so cool. And then right now, if you go to the website, you'll see a lot of the winter scenes. Yeah, so those were some gorgeous shots too. and the Felt Mansion, obviously. So then, yeah, I went through really fast, guys, but considerations for 2021 and things that we're going to be looking at. So we're going to try to track the digital ads a little bit better. We're trying to grow our social channels, and we hope to add Pinterest. A lot of people are looking at Pinterest as a way to, when they start planning their traveling. Obviously, photography and video assets always have to be a part of the marketing plan. We'd like to increase our 14,000 newsletter signups. We want to start creating and promoting experiences so that when people come to Saugatuck.com, in addition to booking their room, they'll be able to look at different experiences that are offered in the area, from cruising on the Star of Saugatuck to the dune rides, and possibly buy tickets online. We're researching that now. Increase the Indianapolis market share, since we got quite a few people from there. The print ad placements that we're going to be looking at, hopefully Midwest Living this summer. And just FYI, the development for the visitor guide for 2022, because we didn't know what to expect from COVID, we chose not to print a 2021 visitor guide. So coming up 2021, there will not be a new one. We still have 10,000 copies that we will be distributing. There was nothing in them that was timely, no dates. And so we'll have enough to get us through. And we did that really for the people who we thought weren't going to be able to afford to buy an ad. We had no idea that the summer was going to turn out the way that it did. But we are going to be doing a different type of a guide. We're going to do a spring summer guide and then a fall winter guide on a smaller scale. And then the biggest thing I guess I wanted to put out to you all is, besides if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. But number two, how can we work together? What can we do? How can we collaborate, and what can we do to help? And that's the end of the show.
Lisa, do you get revenue from the Airbnbs or any of that, or is it strictly
That's
hotels and things?
It's strictly right now just hotels, motels, the bed and breakfast, and the vacation rental management firms. There's legislature going through, hopefully in 2021, where they are going to start putting that 5% lodging tax on short-term rentals. So we want to encourage those short-term rentals to hop on board with a vacation rental management firm, and then they'll be a part of the CVB. And because they're getting they're getting everything that we do, and not
yeah. And I think,
frustrating.
right, because I think sometimes the others are suffering a bit, because the Airbnbs are doing so well.
Right.
What was your maiden name, or did you have one? Or I was just curious of your history. I wonder if I know you. Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Were you always Lisa Mize?
Simmons. S-Y Simmons.
Oh, Simmons.
Lisa Simmons.
Okay.
S-Y-M.
Just curious.
118th Avenue, the Todd Farm Road. That's where I grew up.
Okay, thanks.
Stacy, I think Lisa might be a little bit younger than you.
I know, but I pay attention.
Well, we
I
all
like to know everybody.
Lisa, it's John. I just want to congratulate you on, you made so much progress and improvement in this really difficult year. And it's really heartening to see all the results. And just one example, I love getting the monthly, or sometimes it's more than monthly, but the media hit updates. And I try to read them all. And it's just, you've already said, bringing in a professional PR media firm from Chicago has really made a huge difference. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, it's very
been a good
good.
summer.
Yeah.
And I guess
Unbelievably.
to your question, and I guess you probably don't know this off the top of your head, I'm just trying to think through this. I mean, I know that there's probably not a lot of CVB members that are based in the township. I can think of a handful off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you could provide some of that information, that might help us answer the question about how the township government can work with you. But
Sure.
we certainly support you. And as you know, we gave out your guides and I think we ran out. So we'll take some more at the Township Hall.
Okay, I'd be happy to drop them by. I also have, I think Griffin knows I have a digital copy of that presentation if anybody's interested.
Oh, okay.
I'd love to
Cool.
see, yes.
Okay.
Lisa, can I ask, this is Brenda, Marcy.
Hi, Brenda.
Or maybe anyone actually, do we have a link to,
To Saugatuck.com.
pardon me?
To
Oh, it's just
Saugatuck.com.
Saugatuck.com. Okay, okay. Yeah. Okay. That's great.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everybody. It was good to meet
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on now to our public comment portion of the agenda.
Cindy,
we
we do have
Point of
one more
order.
presentation.
This
Oh,
was
I'm
not-
sorry, I missed one. Progress survey and update survey results from the Tri-Community Recycling Committee. Sorry, Garn, I missed you.
That's okay. I won't take it personally. That's okay. Hey, I hope my connection's good. I seem to be coming in and out, so bear with me. It may be my location. Are you guys hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I know you all have a copy of the draft report, so I'm not going to go through it verbatim. We've had a really good process, a really good team of people, some representatives from the township, the city of Douglas, and the city of Saugatuck. We administered the survey electronically with the help of all the managers. Thank you, Griffin. Everybody was able to put them out in electronic format through the listservs, and then also Lisa with the CVB, Gregory with Sadaba, to the business owners. So we got, in my opinion, a really good response, a 12% response rate. And for me in my former line of work, 12% is pretty good. So I'm happy with our response rate. Just a couple things, in the report, you've obviously seen there's really kind of three parts. There's the resident survey, 579 respondents, the business owner responses, there were 69 of those, and then the summary of the resident and business owner comments. It was a really short, sweet, to the point survey. It took 6 minutes to complete. We didn't want it to be too long, and we wanted it to be kind of something that they would not lose interest in, so that seemed to help. General observations, just so that you all are aware, and probably comes as no surprise, that really most folks, for the most part, felt pretty confident in their knowledge of how and what to recycle, and are actually pretty passionate about it, but are not satisfied with what's currently happening. And you all are in a unique situation there in the township because you don't have a single hauler contract. And so you can probably, if you read through the comments, you could probably see which ones were coming from your township residents, because they had some comments about different haulers coming up the road at different times. So I think there's some really good feedback for you all from the township perspective as you move forward and perhaps contemplate maybe a single hauler contract, but far be it from me to say that. There was also a general concern of a lot of folks very unclear and quite disgruntled with the use of the yellow bags. As an aside, our next meeting is on the 23rd at 11 a.m. with Jack Brown, who is the new representative from Republic, to go through these results and see if we can't get beyond the yellow bag issue. Because apparently Republic continues to give those out in some places, which just causes all kinds of great confusion, and they should not be. So that should be fun, and look for that public notice coming out pretty quick about that. The other thing that folks seemed genuinely interested in was composting. There was a mixed bag of folks who understood it and a lot of folks who didn't know anything about it, but seemed to be a general consensus that they'd be willing to learn about it. So with that, the committee basically has come up with some initial recommendations, and some of that I'll talk to you about. One of the first things that my commitment remains is to try to keep this as low cost as possible. Our first suggestion is to do a one-off mailer, if you will, to all of our constituents, basically a back to basics. Here's what can be recycled, and that's it. and to get that to them in a mail format and then provide them with some, a link, whether it's a Facebook page or, or our municipality web pages that we use to really keep people up to date and educated. The other thing that the group is very committed to is producing twice a month articles in the Commercial Record, which kind of take us through a series of educational components about recycling and composting. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, I think the rest of it's pretty straightforward. A great group of people. They've been wonderful to work with. Our task is done at the end of December, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to have a critical mass that want to continue on. And as I said to the group today when we chatted through email, and we've really only just started what I think can be a really good endeavor for all three of our communities. So I'll end with basically my conversation with Griffin and John today was how we could most easily get out that mailer. And so I had this conversation with Cindy too. So how to get out that one mailer in a way that is affordable or free. And my thoughts, and I had this wild brainstorm today, is if we could include it with the tax bills, but John and I had a really good conversation about not everybody gets their tax bills. So I'm all ears. You all are the first ones that I'm talking to and presenting to, if you will. I'm all ears on a possible way to get that one-off mailer to everybody at as affordable a cost as possible. So with that, I'll shut up and answer any questions and take any thoughts or ideas you have. How's that?
Anybody have comments for Garnet? John?
Yeah, no, first of all, great presentation. And I was awestruck when this came out a couple of weeks ago at the high return rate, because I mean, as you know, 2% is usually considered like huge, and you way surpassed that. In terms of the tax bill notice that we talked about today, the timing's really tough because all of that is due to our printer facilitator by this Friday. I don't know if there's a website link yet at all relative to what is recyclable, because that could easily be added to the tax information newsletter that I write that goes in all the bills that do get sent to.
Actually, there is.
Well, if you could get me some language tomorrow, because that's kind of my deadline to get it to them. But, I've drafted our newsletter, but we can certainly add an item because we took off the one about the census. So that's something we can do right away.
Okay.
But then there's the issue we discussed about 35%, if not more, of our total tax base pay through escrow and mortgage companies, so they don't get a bill. But we could get started, and then perhaps, because it'd be more time, we could do something more aggressive for the July bills next year. But I'm willing to do whatever we can to get this message out there.
Yeah, I actually have an actual PDF that I can send to you, or the webpage address for Public Services that is specific about what can and cannot be recycled. It's a pretty good graphic.
All right.
Actually.
Well, I think that'd be a great start, because 2/3, 60% of our homeowners would receive that after December.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I will get that to you as soon as I get off of this call. All right.
And I just want to add, because you brought it up, and I've been here almost 20 years, and there have been two times in that 20-year period where the Saugatuck Township Board debated and considered going single hauler like the cities. And they were two of the most contentious meetings I've ever attended. I was always there as a resident in support. Both times it went down. I think the first time it went down unanimously, and the second time maybe one member of the board voted for single hauler. But I can say, as someone who's in the office every day, we get so many calls and people coming in asking us, do we have recycle bags? Like, I guess at one point in the past we did. And also, why don't you have a single hauler? And we're getting more and more new people into the township. Just throw that out there as something we can discuss the board in our strategy session and perhaps revisit next year.
Yeah, and just along those lines, I think, I don't know how long ago it was that you all had those discussions, and Dan DeFranco, who's a member of the committee, did share with me how difficult it was this last time.
Oh,
it is
it was
interesting.
Violent almost.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, members of the board were banging on the
Oh.
table and saying, over their dead bodies, would we ever go to single hauler? It became for some of them like the most passionate issue they'd ever discussed.
Yeah.
But that was 5 or 6 years ago, and times change, situations change, and the board changes.
Got it. Yeah, I think the biggest beef that you saw in the survey responses, you can tell they were township folks, was literally the amount of trash hauler traffic on your roads.
There's trucks every day.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, okay.
Arnett, this is Abby. I just wanted to express my appreciation for you and for the committee. And I'm particularly appreciative that you guys at least are planning to continue your work past December. And I took the survey and it was easy and I loved it. And I'm just very happy with all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Garnet. I promise never to forget you again.
Oh, it's okay. I'll just give you a hard time anytime I can. So it's all good. All right, you guys, take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Now we can enter into the public comment portion of our agenda. And we would like speakers to get our attention either by raising their hand or unmuting themselves and speaking directly. I believe that to unmute your telephone is *6. And we ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes if you're speaking for yourself and 5 minutes if you're speaking for a group. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Are you seeing any raised hands, Mr. Graham?
I'm not, and I'm trying to unmute them in case they're having an issue with that too.
Okay, we'll give them a minute.
I see Denise Shipley, Roy McElwain, and Scott Stearns. Would anyone like to speak?
Last call. We'll give you one more chance. Unmute yourself and speak up.
Hi, this is Denise Shipley. I'm just sitting and listening.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you, though.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Denise.
Yeah.
Hi, Denise.
Hi.
Roy or Scott, are either of you looking to speak?
Hello, you got Roy?
Yeah, Roy, we can hear you.
Okay, all I wanted to comment was I was listening to the recycling and I just applaud everything. John, I can't even think of his last name now, was on the board with me and we tried to get recycling and were shot down 3-2 on the board vote. And one of the members did say that, quote, over my dead body, basically, that would we have recycling single hauler. So I applaud everything you're doing with that committee.
Good.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Roy.
Roy.
Okay. Mr. Stearns, were you looking to speak? Kind of your last chance. If not, you'll have a chance again at the end.
No, thank you, Griffin. I'm good for now. Thanks
Okay.
a lot.
Thank you. I think that's all I see, Cindy.
Okay, then we'll move right along to review of the invoices. I think we did get an attachment today for some additional late bills that came in. I believe the motion on the screen is up to date. Is that correct, Mr. Graham?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Is there someone that would like to make a motion?
Got to unmute, Brenda. You're muted.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I move to approve all bills and payroll in the amount of $104,016.77 as presented.
Is there support?
This is Bigford. I'll support.
We have a motion by Marcy, supported by Bigford. And is there any more discussion or any questions?
Supervisor Osmond, can I make a quick comment?
Yes, please.
Just to highlight to everyone, if you notice that this month's bills are notably higher than most months, I just would like to point out that's because we have the invoices for several of the capital projects that were budgeted for this year. One of those being some cemetery tree cleanup, as well as replacing the roof on the River Bluff Park shelter. So those two projects together totaled just short of $25,000, which is why this month's notably higher.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Is there any more discussion or any questions? I will call the roll. Marcy?
Yes.
Bigford?
Yes.
Osmond? Yes. Helmrich?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is it Huntry Nursery, or am I missing one? Accounts payable? We did that one.
Yes, we're under the treasurer's report.
Okay, treasurer's report.
Thank you.
John, would you like to introduce your treasurer's report?
Sure. So this is John Helmrich. Somebody has background noise. If they could mute their phone. I don't know if everyone's hearing that, but. So, as I do each month, I'm reporting on our general fund bank balance at the end of October was at $1.7 million. And you might notice that this is down $1 million from previous months because we moved $1 million out of the general fund bank account into the class pool investment account. We reopened those with that money, and we did split them within the class account between the general fund, road fund, and cemetery fund, which is how they were originally funded many years ago. I want to point out, as Griffin pointed out, some of those high bills that came in this month, and there were more than usual. But the point is, we still maintained that 1.7. If you add in class 2.7, we're holding steady on cash at hand. Having said that, total revenue year to date is still running under budget by 17%, which is about the same that revenue is below budget. In the general fund accounts only, revenue and expenses are both only 3% below budget. So we're really running exactly where we want to be at this point. Just to note that income coming in from permits, and this includes everything except building permits, which are now done by MTS, but our marijuana permits and park donations as well, those areas are well ahead of what we had forecasted in the budget. And on the departmental level, which is important to report, there are no overages at all to discuss. And what are we, I guess, 4 months into the new fiscal year. Excuse me. Our CD value, which was our only investment with our bank, is at $763,000. It's exactly flat to where it ended the previous month. But now we have the new class account, which is already at $1,056,000. So it's made some money in the 2 weeks that the money got moved. On the tax front, late summer tax payments do continue to arrive. Those second notices work. We've actually received, when I wrote this, it was 95%. It's closer to 90% of our billed parcels have paid for the summer, which I think is quite incredible given the broader financial picture in the country. Let's see, I said the second notices went out already and people are paying. Prep for winter bills is in really high gear, and we're hoping to hit a deadline of this Friday to send bills to the printer. It may end up being early next week. We're delayed a bit because Fenville had an election with a new school millage, and they have not officially ratified what that amount will be. 2 weeks ago, let me tell you, it's been a crazy 2 or 3 weeks at the township office. We had our audit the week before the election. The audit takes a lot of time from me and also from Lori, the deputy clerk. It went very smoothly. And tomorrow, they've already sent the draft back, which is the fastest they've ever done that. Mr. Graham and I are sitting down tomorrow together to go through the drafts, and that we have to both sign off on that. And we'll report back to the others on the board. And let's see, lastly, 2 more summer tax disbursements need approval tonight from the board. Summer payment number 8, which was only for $49,000. That's already gone out. And number 9, which is probably only going to be around $25,000, will go out this Friday. So there is detail in your packet on where the disbursements are going for number 8. Number 9, I'll have to present to you next month, but I would like to make a motion to approve the 2 summer tax disbursements, number 8 and number 9, totaling approximately $75,000 to be transmitted.
We have support for that motion.
This is Bigford. I'll support.
Motion by Helmrich, support by Bigford. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Helmrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Marcy,
Yes.
motion carries. And we will move on to the minutes of October 14. I hope everybody had a chance to look at the minutes and
Yeah.
review them. Any questions or comments for Bigford before we do a motion? None? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to it. Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
That was-
Marcy, I'll move to approve the minutes of the October 14th, 2020 regular meeting as presented.
I'll
Okay,
support.
and
Aldrich.
okay, is there any discussion? Comments? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the roll. Marcy,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Osmond, yes, and Helmrich.
Yes.
Motion carries. So we can move on to correspondence. No correspondence other than, okay.
Madam Supervisor, I'd like to make a comment here. I want to, for the purpose of the record, there was some correspondence received in the office Tuesday afternoon after the packet had gone out. These were, I think, 3 different emails with attachments from Mr. McElwain, all relative to the Van Horn project. I just want to alert everyone, I have shared all of those with both Lene Wells, our zoning administrator, and Mr. Graham, our manager, for their further review. I have not yet had time to review all of them. As I said, they came in too late for the packet. I did suggest that these be sent by Mr. McElwain to the state, to Eagle, the department that oversees such things, because these are the questions he has are really for them to answer, not so much the township government. But as I said, we'll probably share these with everyone tomorrow, and I just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. So no correspondence. We'll move on to unfinished business. A, eliminating the township constable position. Mr. Graham?
Yes, thank you. Just very brief, at the last regular meeting, the township board requested staff work with legal counsel to prepare a resolution for you all to consider tonight. It is before you all in the meeting packet, and I'm happy to do the best I can to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Graham before we move on to a motion? Would someone like to make a motion?
This is Helmrich. I'd like to move to approve the adoption of resolution number 2020-12, a resolution concerning constables for the 2024 general election as presented.
Is there support?
I'll support Aldrich.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the elimination of that position? Any questions, any comments? Going once.
I'd
Helmut,
just like to thank Mr. Graham. I know this was extra time on top of so many things going on in our lives, but I'm happy to see this cleaned up now that this last election is over, and this is good for moving forward. Thank you.
thank you. Helmut,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Marcy,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
motion carries. So we can move on to remote participation in public meetings. I think this issue looks a lot more complicated than it actually is, but I'll let Mr. Graham give us the Reader's Digest version.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize for how many different steps and how many pieces are included in this agenda item. But in short, this package of materials is designed to allow the township board and its other boards, commissions, and committees to continue to meet remotely in compliance with some recent amendments to the Open Meetings Act. So before you is a remote participation policy, which I know the board discussed briefly before, but in consultation with the township attorney, we have also prepared an ordinance and a resolution which would set us up to be successful moving forward to give us some flexibility over the next year when it comes to need or not to meet remotely. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have on this item. Procedurally, if this is something you all are comfortable moving forward with at this meeting, I would ask that you please do it in 3 separate motions to be very clear about the 3 different items before you all. But this is a package of materials intended in conjunction to advance the goal that I outlined previously. Please let me know if I can do anything to help.
So really, it's 3 interlocking parts of the same puzzle. Then they all refer kind of to each other, and it completes the picture on how the township can continue to meet remote if needed. And so if you could look at the motions, is there anybody that would like to tackle motion number 1?
I will. I move to approve the adoption of the proposed remote participation policy as presented and to direct staff to amend the administrative policy handbook to incorporate it as appropriate.
Is there support?
This is Marcy. I'll support.
Okay, motion by Aldrich, support by Marcy. Is there further discussion?
Just a question on all of these actions that we're taking. I don't know if this is, I guess, directed for Mr. Graham. I would assume that all of these are reversible. Is there any type of expiration or any time that we're suggested to review these? Or if you could speak to that, Manager Graham.
Sure. So in short, yes, almost anything you do is reversible to an extent. The policy itself could be amended really at any point. The ordinance would be the most difficult one to reverse, if you will. But the township has experience with putting ordinances in place, removing them, and actually has even experience putting them back in place again. What I would note with the ordinance is there's very specific situations in which it's enacted. So the fact that you all could adopt an ordinance and choose to never enact it could also be a case. And if you want to look specifically at the resolution, it talks about that it doesn't go into place until the ordinance becomes effective. And it also discusses when it would no longer be in effect. So yes, I mean, you all could put any of this into place and could take it out of place at any point. I think notably, this is also all being proposed in accordance to recent amendments to the Open Meetings Act, the state could also decide to amend the Open Meetings Act at some point in the future. And we would then have to review if these are still applicable at that point.
And I believe, Abby, that there is a sunset on the state law that ends at the end of 2021. So we wouldn't necessarily have to take any action. It would just be an ordinance that could be removed.
And if I can, I would also say, the first drafts putting these together were much more detailed in a sense of outlining those specific dates and deadlines. And in consultation with the township attorney, we decided to revise them in a point that was more broad, because with everything going on in the world, we anticipate future changes, not only to the Open Meetings Act, but of the needs of the township when it comes to needing to meet remotely. So instead of putting something overly specific in place, we're instead, with this policy and ordinance, setting up processes by which these items can be addressed moving forward.
Thank you, guys. That answers my question.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions or discussion items, concerns? I'm not hearing anything. There are specific things that have to happen in order to declare the emergency to allow for the remote meetings, but that's all. That's going to be obvious to us when the time comes. So, any more discussion? Aldrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osman, yes. Elmerick,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
motion carries. Is there anyone that would like to tackle motion number 2?
I'll move. This is Marcy.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not muted. I just want to make sure.
Is there support?
No. Did she move it?
Do you want me to read
I
it?
didn't hear anything.
I didn't.
Is there a television on somewhere? Or?
Someone needs
It's
to
my house.
move.
I'm sorry. I will mute it.
Oh,
if I
okay.
make this motion.
Sorry, Brenda.
So I will move to approve the adoption of ordinance number 2020-04, an ordinance to add a new Article 6 to Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances, Township of Saugatuck, Michigan, to authorize remote participation in board meetings during locally declared emergencies as presented.
Is there support?
I'll
This is
support.
Bigford, I'll support.
Any more discussion or questions?
Can I make one specific comment about this, Madam Supervisor?
Yes, please.
I would like to note to everyone that this ordinance establishes a process by which the supervisor and or the township can declare a state of civil emergency. That state of civil emergency sounds out there, or it sounds
ominous.
It's got specific connotations to it, and I understand that. I would just like to clarify that this ordinance declares that specifically for allowing the township to then hold remote meetings. Nothing more, nothing less. If you look at the specific ordinance language, this ordinance is specifically for allowing the township to meet remotely if necessary.
Yes, we don't close streets or
Correct.
Whatever else we might do during an emergency, give money to people, but this just so we can have remote meetings.
And the reasoning for that is, and actually the Open Meetings Act language is included in your packet. One of the recent amendments, what it did was only allows remote meetings starting in 2021 when a state or locally declared emergency or state of disaster is declared. And one of the things the township attorney and I discussed while putting these materials together, what if there is a situation in which the township feels it is necessary to meet remotely, but let's say the state of Michigan and or Allegan County have not declared a state of emergency. Do we want to be reliant upon them to be able to meet remotely if it's deemed necessary? So that's the reason for this step, is it puts it back in the township's hands where you all can decide, is the situation so dire, or is the situation warranting of that declaration of emergency or disaster that would then let us be able to meet remotely.
Any more questions for Mr. Graham or discussion items? I'm seeing none, so I will call the roll. Marcy,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Helmrich,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
motion carries. So we can move on in our agenda. I have to keep a lot of papers open.
Yeah, Madam Supervisor, we still need to consider the resolution, if you will.
Oh, the resolution, I'm sorry. Anybody want to tackle motion number 3?
I would like to move to approve the adoption of resolution number 2020-13, a resolution declaring a local state of civil emergency pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the Township Code of Ordinances as presented.
Is there a second?
This is Marcy. I'll support.
Okay, moved by Helmrich, supported by Marcy. Any more discussion about the resolution? I think we all have a pretty good grasp of it now. Stacy, do you have a question?
No, I'm just saying, yeah, we got a pretty good grasp.
Okay. Then I'll go ahead and call the roll. Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries. Resolution of intent to join the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority. John, would you like to present something on this? I mean, this was kind of in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's kind of been my baby, and I will also give Mr. Graham time to add anything he would like to, because he's worked very diligently on this. And the good news, and in terms of timing, as he laid out in his memo, last Monday, the City of Douglas Council voted unanimously on a motion to move forward with inviting the township to formally join as a voting member, the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority. I was able to attend their Zoom meeting and speak and thank them for considering it. As you all know, I spent 4 years as the non-voting representative on the authority representing Saugatuck Township. This Monday, the Saugatuck City Council also considered a similar motion, and I was able to participate and thank them and attend the meeting, and that also passed unanimously. The motions do have a request / requirement that the legal fees to rewrite the original interlocal agreement that set up the authority, that those fees be paid by the township, but they're not requiring any payment for past setup costs. And also, I was very pleased because in both cases, the new mayor of Saugatuck, as well as the manager of the City of Douglas, both spoke to the memo that Mr. Graham had written a month or so ago, outlining all the contributions we have made to the authority. Some have been in kind, like buoy placement. Some have been financial, like last summer's the toxic harbor study that we contributed the same amount as each of the cities. So that was acknowledged. They also acknowledged that, I had served time on the authority in a manner of speaking. So it was nice to see them both recognize that, and they both passed those resolutions. And now the next step is in our hands. And Mr. Graham, would you like to add anything about this resolution?
Sure, and I'll clarify, there's actually no resolution in front of you all today. It's just reiterating a resolution you all previously adopted. What I will add is one, just to acknowledge John and all John's work on this. I know this has definitely been a topic he's been championing for many years. But I also think at this point, the reason I'm bringing this before you all, besides as an update, is staff really needs some direction from the township board at this point about where you all would like to go from here. Is this still a priority for the township board? Is this something you all want to continue to advance? So I'm happy to discuss any more. The suggested motion would be what a realistic next step could and would be to continue on with the process of moving the township towards joining the authority. But at this point, I'm looking for some feedback from all of you on what you all would like to see next on this item.
This is Marcy. I have a question. Because it's been so long since we did that, the date is on there. What exactly do they do? Now, I know they did the testing, but what else does the Harbor Authority do? And that's all.
I think that would be a good question for John, because he has participated as a non-voting member.
Mhm.
But what kind of outcomes did the authority produce?
Well, it does waver over time in terms of their activity, or some months there's not much activity. But things that come to my mind in the time I was there and some of the meetings that I've attended since, when I was on the authority, that was at the low level of water when everyone was freaking out about the islands and the trees that were growing in the harbor. So there was much discussion about what could be done about dredging. That kind of softened that intent and interest because now we're at a high water mark. But the point being, the Harbor Authority is there to kind of monitor, suggest things, and look at that in a tri-community, hopefully tri-community fashion. Much of the harbor area is actually in the township. There was a time when they were fully in charge of the buoy placement, but that has changed thanks to our actions here with Mr. Graham. And they continue to question their role. Part of it, I think, is because there's only been the two cities and not the township. So I don't know if that helps you, but they do have monthly meetings. Sometimes they're canceled, but one thing I forgot to mention, part of what we would be asking if we move forward with directing staff to go to the proposed motion state is how many members we get voting members. My feeling is it should be 2 voting members like each of the 2 cities, but that's there's still things that have to be codified in an agreement, and I'm hoping we take that step, because I also think it's something we've talked about now for 2 years that really illustrates the whole, the improvement in the tri-community cooperation. So I think it's important on that front. And then I think if it goes forward that way, more work and more ideas will be coming out of what they do when this gets if and when this gets settled.
And I think I read that there was some fee that was waived. I think that might have been before the last one. So there's no set costs, correct? It would be just if something comes up.
Right.
Like, was it the testing of the water?
The issue that some of them had, and some of them are not serving on their councils now because of the recent election, but some of the issues that had come up over time were the city spent money on the original interlocal agreement. There were legal fees, there were setup costs.
Right.
That was agreed to be waived back when I was still the non-voting rep, but then there's been this lag time. So that's, I think, quite a victory. They're saying, come and join us. You don't have to pay to do it. We'd like you to pay to revise this agreement. And in the future, all 3 communities, if somebody proposes something that would cost money, it's an individual vote. So
Right.
1 and 2 could vote yes and do it. Like when I forgot to mention, they've done a lot of work on invasive species and plant issues management. And, but again, we would maintain our autonomy on not having to go along with something, whether it was dredging or invasive species or something, or you know, like we agreed on the study that was done. So
Right.
we have that, you should call it freedom or potential independence, depending on the issue at hand.
Thank you. And you know how I feel. I think any tri-community collaboration is wonderful. So I have one other question. Regardless of what we do with them, is there any staff time involved?
Other than the preparation of the documents
Right.
and getting it, pulling it together, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that Douglas pays the, to do the minutes and run the meetings and post the meetings.
Okay.
I mean, traditionally, also the 2 or 3 managers have always attended the
Mhm.
monthly meeting, and then I guess there could potentially be work if there was a motion or a project to be brought to the council and boards.
Okay.
But
I just-
otherwise,
yeah.
the work would mostly be hopefully the 2 representatives.
Yeah, I ask each time we do this just because every time I look at our chart of things that we're working on, and I know we're coming up on probably redeveloping that or looking at that again, I just think of the time involved. So I get kind of overwhelmed for you, Griffin, and the rest of the staff. So that's why I ask, and that there is a cost with that. So.
Can I add something to the discussion?
Yes.
I think a few things, and bluntly, at least my experience with this committee or with this authority has been, it's primarily advisory or deliberative in nature.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's noteworthy because at this time they have no regular funding. As Treasurer Helmrich referenced, any projects they're looking to expend money on, how it's currently set up, because they have no regular operating budget, is the request has to go to all the members of the authority. At this point, that would really need to change for them to be able to provide more regular services. However, I think the advantage of moving forward with this is the township could then potentially have a seat at the table for those discussions to contribute to what this authority could or doesn't do moving forward. The only other thing I would add, and again, just to be as direct as I can, is in my experience, in my conversations with the 2 other managers of the communities who are part of the authority at this point, is they are asked to contribute staff time whenever the committee is pursuing these special projects. I think otherwise, again, at a advisory or deliberative level, the committee is able to do a lot of that work. But like most of these things, when they're wanting to take action or provide a service or take that next step, at least in the conversations I've had, it seems like staff time is contributed. I do think that's something you all can consider as in-kind contributions moving forward. But again, I think at this point, this authority is at a crossroads. I know one of the items that's been on all of the agendas since I've been attending the meetings is, what is the goals? What is this authority trying to do, trying to be? I'll point out kind of a few maybe shocking statements, but probably not, is the Saugatuck Township Fire District's an authority. The Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority is an authority. The Interurban Transit Authority is an authority. The difference is those organizations have regular revenue. They have funding to provide services. So at this point, I think one of the things I would at least put in all of your minds is, should we move forward with this and have a seat at the table? Okay, what's next from there? Are we looking for this authority to continue to be advisory and deliberative in nature? which is fine. They've served the community well doing that for many, many years. Or would we be looking to find a way for it to have an operating budget where it could then do other things? Again, probably a longer term discussion and maybe something to be discussed in some of our strategic planning work moving forward. But I think they're fair things to at least contemplate when you're considering this item.
I think that's a really good summary. I think this is an advisory authority. And if they want to do something, each representative has to go back to their township or city and get authorization to spend money, and the townships and cities have to decide whether or not they want to fund that.
Yeah. That sounds good. I'm done.
You're done. Okay, so I would like to entertain a motion regarding the intent to join the Kalamazoo Harbor Lake Authority.
I move to direct the township manager to prepare a resolution for the township board to formally request to join the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority, to consider at a future meeting and to propose amendments to the Act 7 Interlocal Cooperation Agreement, creating the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority, the authority bylaws, and the authority rules of procedure as appropriate to address the remaining conditions of the township board's resolution of intent.
Is there support?
This is Bigford, I'll support.
Okay, motion by Aldridge, second by Bigford. Is there further discussion? I have one question for John. Is there urgency to get this done? I know that Manager Graham's plate is rather full.
Well, I think ideally, because what was it, October a year ago that we passed our resolution, a lot of
And
time.
we knew it would
passed.
take a long time. We knew this would
Right.
take time.
And
it
again, as
still
I
has
said,
to
I
go
mean-
back to the other jurisdictions to get their approval, so.
But I found it, as I said earlier, encouraging that they both did it within a week of each other. So personally, yeah, it's not the most important thing on our slate. I would like to see it out there before the end of the year,
Okay.
just to get it off our to-do list and see how it moves forward. And I think I would not want to wait too much longer, since they both finally acted. And again, there are new people involved at the governing level, as you full well know.
Yes, I do. Any other questions or discussion? I will call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Bickford,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries. New business. The MERS adoption agreement addendums. This is way less complicated than it looks. MERS needs to update their records to reflect what we are participating in. And this required Mr. Graham to spend quite a bit of time going over what we currently have, verifying it, and reporting that back to MERS. This does not affect any township finances. It just is a reporting step. So do you have anything else to add, Mr. Graham?
The only thing I would add is this is also provides a unique opportunity that, I'm happy to discuss the township's retirement benefits with anyone on the board if you all have any interest in learning a little bit more about what benefits we provide to full-time employees, if that's something you all are interested in. Otherwise, as the supervisor mentioned, this is more of a housekeeping item.
This is Helmrich, and as you know, I'm a supervisor. The city dealt with a MERS issue this week as well, and we've had MERS for, I don't remember off the top of my head, but many years as the pension plan for township employees. I'd like to move to approve the adoption of the updated resolution of intent to consider joining, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Okay. We already did that. I'd like to move to adopt the defined benefit plan adoption agreement addendum and the hybrid plan adoption agreement addendum as presented and authorize the township clerk to sign them on behalf of the township board.
Is there any support?
This is Marcy, I'll support.
We have a motion by Helmrich, support by Marcy. Is there any further discussion on the MERS pension plans? Okay, Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Aldrich,
Yes.
and Bigford.
Yes.
Motion carries. Michigan State Police rental agreement. I'll let Mr. Graham go over this background. I think they've been there since 2000, I want to say 2003 or 2013, but the state police have been sharing the building with us for quite some time with a big presence in West Michigan.
Yes, thank you. They've been in their current location since 2013, and that's largely due to, at that point, the township did some minor renovations. But prior to that, and I have to admit, I don't know for quite how long before that, they occupied a space which is now where the township board holds regular in-person meetings. But yes, the township and the state police have had a relationship for many years, and annually the township board considers renewing their rental agreement. If you'll remember, it seems like just yesterday, but a very similar agreement was brought before you all last December. This agreement is almost identical. It's another 1 year or proposed 1 year agreement if you all are interested in continuing that relationship.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion?
Comment, and this could have really been brought up in my open board report, but because we are talking about space, I'll just bring it up here. And our lease agreement with the Michigan State Police. I just want to say, first and foremost, I am by no means suggesting that we ask them to leave or to evict the police. I know that our community places great value on their presence, and not just Saugatuck Township, but our greater community. However, when just speaking about space, we have almost 3,000 registered voters in Saugatuck Township. And when you reach 2,999, you need to look at, you're required to add another precinct. It's my belief as clerk that adding a precinct under the same roof is best. That way you can have your clerk and your deputy clerk overseeing both precincts easily. So I guess I just think that it would be prudent to just kind of talk about space, and I know they're occupying that space, but it may be courteous and conscientious just to get them, include them in that conversation. Just start those conversations, and perhaps our space needs could be met in completely other ways. I guess that's all I have to say about that. We had a wonderful election, but at times we had an hour-and-a-half wait. A lot of that was due to COVID and having to space out our voting stations. And our voters were incredible. We hardly had any complainers, and they understood and they were happy to be there to vote, but it was really good weather. And in not such great weather, I don't think they would have been as happy to be standing outside for that long. So there's a lot there. I just encourage us all to contribute to this conversation and to add our ideas and our beliefs regarding this topic.
Yeah, I'd like to add, I think that's the perfect time for you to bring those concerns up after a very successful election, and it's good to do a postmortem. And I think it's great to bring us into the conversation and make us aware. And probably we should, if we move forward with the one-year renewal, start the conversation with them so they're aware that we have this issue in the future. I think the good news in terms of having to add a precinct is that at least in the next calendar year, the terms of this agreement, there's no presidential or gubernatorial or major primaries coming up, but they will be back within 2 years. So again, I applaud you for the timing, and I think it's a really important thing for us all to be aware of. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And I forgot to mention that I did do some research this week. I was in contact with Cindy, her last name escapes me, from the MTA. And because I was under the impression that if you add absentee voter counting board, that you can take a percentage off that 3,000, because it's not, you're not having those voters come in to vote. I was certain that I had read something, but it ended up being a House bill that did not go anywhere. As far as she knows, she's doing a little bit more research on it, and she's reaching out to some other people, but things could change. You know, that House, it could gain momentum, and that would be incredible if we could not have to add a precinct, because we had 1,800, close to 1,800 mail-in votes. So that takes a lot of that foot traffic out. Either way, I think the need for space is there.
Clerk Bigford, just to add to the discussion as well, I think, one, if the board wants to move forward with this 1 year lease, I'm happy to start to communicate with police and start to put in their court that these are discussions we're having. Something else I'd like to suggest is, if you would like, the next time you're in the office or a time that we can schedule, maybe we can reach out to the state police about having you visit that space so you can picture it a little bit more and actually start to see if that is space that may be usable for the needs that the township's going to have moving forward, or if we need to start a process for potentially finding other solutions. The other thing I'd like to add too is something we've all started to discuss a little bit. I know one of the board's goals for this year was to start the conversation about potential facility updates. One of the things that's already on my list to propose to the board for next inclusion in next fiscal year's budget is to bring in a consultant to do a space study for us, not only in terms of some of our more unique services, specifically such as elections, but also our day-to-day operations and how we use our space, what space we have at our disposal, and how we may be able to use it more efficiently. That is something that we could consider moving up if you all were interested in. At this point, I don't have an estimate, except my understanding is we would be bringing in an architecture firm. So we'd be looking at several thousands of dollars to do that. But that is something that we could also consider moving up the timeline on.
I think, yeah, a lot of these, I could go on about all of that, but I think a lot of that can be discussed at our workshop too. Just
Absolutely.
the possibilities going forward.
Absolutely.
Okay, would anybody like to take a stab at the motion?
This is Marcy. I'll move to authorize the township clerk to execute the proposed 2021 rental agreement between Saugatuck Township and the state of Michigan.
Is there support?
This is
I'll
Bigford.
support. Oh, sorry. Aldrich, I'll support.
Okay, is there further discussion? Hearing none. Marcy,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Helmrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
motion carries. Goal setting workshop. I know Griffin's been working hard on this and we did such a good job last time. We get to do it again. Mr. Graham, would you like to review this?
Sure, I'm happy to. I think the few things to share is one, I'm very pleased to announce that we are moving forward with planning another goal setting workshop. Last year was the first time Saugatuck Township had done that in that form, and I think it worked out really well for us this year in terms of giving staff direction and forming our fiscal year budget for this year. I would also just like to say that we are going to be bringing in Larry Nielsen, who is a retired city manager and to this day a local government consultant in various forms and fashions, to be coming in to facilitate this workshop for everyone. I will say that the exact form and location and time of the workshop is still to be determined. As you all know, with last week's election, there were decisions at that point that had implications on what exactly the workshop would look like. So we're working to clarify some of those items for you all in the upcoming weeks. But at this point, I can say that the workshop will be on December 5th. Location to be determined. Our goal, and we're going to do everything we can to try to be able to hold that in person. But I will, at least at this point, put the acknowledgement that the COVID rates in Allegan County are not looking good and not trending in the right direction. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and I'll ask you all to do the same, but let's all at least put in the back burner that there is some potential that we may have to be flexible and transition to a remote meeting. But at this point, the goal is to hold it in person. And I am just asking you all today to approve a motion to schedule the special meeting on the 5th. And we will do all the necessary postings once we have the details confirmed. And other than that, just very pleased to share that Mr. Nielsen will be facilitating that for you all.
Great. Would somebody like to make a motion?
This is Bigford. I'll move to schedule a special meeting of the Saugatuck Township Board on Saturday, December 5, 2020, at a time and location to be determined by staff for the purpose of conducting a goal setting and strategic planning workshop and direct the township manager to post notice of the special meeting in accordance to the Open Meeting Act as appropriate.
This is Helmrich. I'll support.
Okay, any more discussion or questions?
I'm just glad that you're considering possibly we might have to do it remotely, because I agree it's getting kind of out of control right now. So makes me feel better. I was a little nervous about it.
Yeah,
Well,
I just based on what I watched the president at Holland today hospital and then talked to my niece who works as a surgical nurse, and I don't see the situation getting any better by December 5th, but we can hope.
well, and I'd just like to say, yeah, we're going to do everything we can to make this a productive and safe meeting, regardless of if it is held in person or remotely. But I would like to thank you all as the manager. I appreciate how willing and flexible you all have been when it comes to last year's workshop and the scheduling of this year's workshop. I think we're 1 year into the process, and I think the results are palpable. I mean, I think we've seen how doing workshops like this helps us to be productive throughout the year, and it helps us to be strategic, and it helps us to be proactive. So I really want to thank you all, because I recognize you all are giving up additional time. I recognize that we are looking to hold this on a Saturday. I recognize you all have friends and families and plenty of other stuff you could be doing with that time. But I just want to thank you for your willingness to let staff coordinate this again this year.
I really feel this is our next 4 years is really our time to really get a lot done. We're more comfortable in our positions, and this is an excellent way to help us decide which way we want to go and possibilities. And I really appreciate you putting it together, Mr. Graham. It's productive and just what we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. This is hugely important, and because it sets the tone for the full year, and it helps describe what we expect from you and what our limits are and what they could be. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the other wonderful thing, and thank you, Mr. Graham. I mean, you got this organized and pushed us to do this last year in December, and we all felt the results were pretty amazing. But it sets a template with measurables for us all, staff as well as board. And I'm not sure that many other municipalities do this on a regular basis. So I applaud you and my colleagues that if we can do this every year, that's a pretty great achievement.
Okay, we have a motion by Bigford, support by Helmrich. I'll call the roll. Bigford,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Osmond, yes, Aldrich,
Yes.
and Marcy.
Yes.
Motion carries. We will see everybody on December 5.
Somewhere.
Okay, we have, we're all newly elected, and we have assignments to boards and commissions. We have Stacy serving as the liaison to the fire department. We have John serving as liaison to the planning commission. And Brenda is liaison to the road commission. And we have Mike McWigan as liaison to Cal Lake Board. And the first question I would have for the three of you, are you satisfied with your appointments to those committees and boards? Stacy?
Yes, I like the fire board. I'm getting comfortable with it. I feel that I'm understanding more. So I would like to continue serving on that board. I enjoy it, and I'm, getting a rapport with the other members and the staff and so if you want me to, I'd like to continue on.
Hey, I would like to appoint Stacy to the fire board. The one, I believe it's with the consent of the council. The
Okay.
appointment by the supervisor and with consent of the board. So I would like to make that appointment. Can I do them all at once, Mr. Graham?
Sure.
Mr. Helmrich, would you like to continue with the planning commission? I think I already know the answer, but.
Well, I could surprise you. No, first of all, I would be honored to continue as the member ex officio, as it's called, as a board member to the planning commission. And I just want to take one quick second to say I'm so proud of the board and the planning commission and the changes that we've already instituted that I think have made it a very, very strong planning commission. And it's an honor to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to appoint Mr. Helmrich to the planning commission. And Ms. Marcy,
Yes.
I think that I would also like to appoint you to the road commission. Would you be willing to accept that appointment?
Yes. Yes. They are great to meet with. They're great with follow-up. Yes. And I have Griffin.
That's true. We
Yes.
all have Griffin.
Yeah,
We'll
we
share
do.
with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Would someone like to make a motion to accept the appointments as presented?
Do we need Cal Lake in there?
Cal Lake, we have Mike McWigan and he's not elected, so we don't have to.
Okay, thank you. Just checking.
So would someone like to make a motion? I'll make, well, I can't make a motion. 'Cause I made
Can
the
we
motion.
make a motion? Oh,
I was
I mean,
thinking, we probably can't.
maybe Abby.
Oh, Abby, go for it.
Abby.
Yeah.
Third, I'll move to accept the appointments made by Supervisor Osmond to of Brenda Marcy to the Road Commission, of John Helmrich to the Planning Commission, and of Stacy Aldrich to the Fire Board.
Okay.
second it?
John, second.
If I can, I will.
I think you can. I mean,
Okay, I support that.
okay. Any more discussion? I'll call the roll. Bigford,
Yes?
Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Aldrich,
Yes.
motion carries. See if I can find my place in the agenda. We are ready for committee reports. Planning Commission.
All right. Speaking of the Planning Commission, we met via Zoom on October 26th, 2020. Public comment started the meeting. Public comment was heard on the pond and sand mining operations on the Van Horn property. We moved on to consider a special use approval application for the retail sale of classic automobiles within the C1 district and a portion of a warehouse building on Commercial Drive. That's the Scott Boscraft property on 135th Avenue. That special approval use for indoor display and sales only was passed unanimously. Then a zoning ordinance text and map amendment to establish a groundwater protection ordinance and overlay zone was discussed, something that this board has discussed in the past. Representatives from North Shore spoke against it during the public hearing. Then it was suggested that the township attorney and the engineer who mapped the area do a presentation to the Planning Commission at our next meeting so everyone could fully understand this rather complicated issue in more clarity. That will happen. The attorney and the engineer will join us. Oh, sorry, well, I'm jumping ahead. That idea was led to a motion to table a vote on this ordinance, which passed by a 5-2 vote. Then resident John Vanderbeek, who we all know, presented his master trail plans, discussed his attempts to obtain easements from property owners to allow for public access to certain trails in the area. He recommended we consider a tree preservation ordinance similar to the one recently adopted in Park Township. Then we had discussion on adding an as-built condition or adopting an ordinance to require approved projects to submit accurate plans upon completion to show that conditions were all met as built. Further discussion then on the master plan projects. Planning Commission members have all submitted to the chair which new committees they would like to serve on, and those committees cover housing, mobility, rural character, and the Blue Star Highway corridor. The next Planning Commission meeting, it will not be in November, it will be later. It'll be on Monday, December 14th, 7 p.m. via Zoom. Any questions?
Thank you, John. Road Commission.
Griffin?
I don't have any updates on road projects at this time.
Thank you. Fire Board.
I'm gonna have to submit my report later. I had trouble with my internet today and I didn't get it done in time, so I'll submit it later to Abby. Sorry. Had a little crisis.
Okay, Parks Commission. I think we got a communication from them in our email. Anything you'd like to add, Mr. Graham?
The only thing I'd add is if you guys haven't had a chance to see the newly repaired River Bluff Park shelter, I had a chance to inspect it last week and I think the new roof looks fantastic. So I highly encourage you all to take a look out there if you are able. For those of you who aren't specifically recalling, the Parks Commission moved forward with the budgeted project of replacing the roof. They decided to replace it with a metal roof, which will last much longer and is more environmentally friendly than replacing it with traditional shingles. I will also say I think it adds the added benefit of it just looks fantastic. So in terms of these projects, we may not get to do as many as we would like. I challenge that for our size of an organization, we actually get to do quite a few, but I'd highly encourage you to take a look. It's going to be a really nice asset to that park.
Excellent. Kalamazoo Lake Water and Sewer Authority, I do not see anybody making a report. I think I need to ask Mr. McWiggin to submit at least a quarterly report because we really don't know what they're doing out there. And we are going to be getting into our rate study, not too far out.
Yeah, the kickoff meeting is going to be on Friday this week.
Okay, so really quick. Emergency Services Committee, I don't recall if we got something from them, but I think we didn't.
Correct. No report.
Okay. Interurban, we got a report from Lori. That's in our packet. I saw that she's getting CARES funding to cover the rate box drop, but open board report. I'm gonna go in the order. I'm gonna go in alphabetical order. Aldrich.
Okay, well, we did a few things this time that I would like to comment, and one was Trustee Marcy and I went on a lovely hike with John Vanderbeek through the Oxbow property, and he's looking at cutting a new trail. You know how he's into trails. And it was very informative. We had a beautiful day. We took a few hours. So it was quite a hike, but it was lovely. So it's really exciting what he's trying to do for us. I mean, I think it's everything we can do to help him accomplish his trail plan would be, you know, beneficial for the township. And John Helmrich and I last Saturday toured you can help me with this, John. The marijuana grow facility.
They call 236 Culver. I'm sorry. It's the Hercules gentleman. Yeah.
Yes. And boy, that was interesting and informative and really amazing. What I mean, I'm just excited about this business coming to the township. They also have invited the other trustees. You can't go in once they get the plants in, so it'd have to be done quite soon. I think they said they have like a 2 or 3 week window before they won't allow anybody in again. So if you're interested, I can help set that up for you, but it's really something to see. It's amazing what they've accomplished and how secure and just top-notch facility it is. It's incredible. So I hope you could somehow arrange to go see it before we can't go in there ever again. Yeah.
It's worth it for the air shower.
Yes, we had an air shower. It was fun. I'm glad I didn't wear a dress.
Well, for Stacy, for one, I would like to go on that tour if anybody else is interested in going with me. We could.
And I think your husbands would enjoy it too. They'd get a lot, you know, Steve went along. They're very nice people and they really are proud of what they've accomplished, and it's something to see. You know, we're lucky that we can see it. So I encourage you to get out there and do it before we can't do it anymore.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you. So Helmrich, board report.
Oh, okay. I thought Bigford was next. Anyway.
Oh, did I skip this?
We're doing alphabetical.
We did alphabetical. Anyway.
You know why? Because I got to the end of my roll call sheet and I already crossed her off.
I'm going to go though. I'm going to go anyway, because my only comment today is about Bigford. And I just want to rave and underscore how fabulous our presidential election was last week. Feels longer ago than that already. But no, really, hats off to Clerk Bigford and her deputy, Lori Babinski. It was incredible. You know, we had record turnout. I believe it was 85%. And from 6 a.m. till about 8:15 p.m., people had to wait between an hour and an hour and a half to vote. It was peaceful. It was orderly. It was friendly. For some reason, at the last minute, I decided not to do absentee. thought I could just walk in because everyone had voted already. And I had to wait in line for an hour, but it was friendly people. And it went, you know, the reports back from the county have been exemplary. So thank you, Abby and Lori.
Thanks, John. Now we'll go back to Bigford.
Good setup.
Much of that credit goes to Deputy Bibby and my entire team of election inspectors. We had some new people. We had some people that had served before. We had people that were not even in our township help us out. Holly, Leo, and Garnett Lewis from the city. We just had a great team and incredible attitudes and work ethic, even when it's, you know, stressful and a long day. So much of the credit goes to them.
Thank you, Abby, for, you know, I heard you did a great job. I couldn't get in there, but I drove by several times and the lines were just amazing. I mean, they were down the street, so good job.
Yes, Marcy.
Yes, and I wanted also to thank Abby that it went so smooth. And, you know, when you hear some accounts across the country, yeah, you did a great job, you and Lori and your electors. And then the only other thing I had is not necessarily township business, it's preaching to the choir. I listened to as I said earlier, the president of Holland Hospital's report today. And one of the things that surprised me, it's probably already been out in the news now, but we've gotten up to 14.9% today, positivity rate. And they're very close to being at full capacity. So it's just a reminder to our residents who some are out there, maybe will be listening to our board meeting, that it is so critical. The other thing that she did mention was that there are a lot of people under 50 being admitted to the hospital. And I think, you know, there's that myth out there that it's just the old people. So there were some other really good things, but I did just want to mention that.
Okay. Osman, the only thing I want to mention is, again, great job, Abby. I know how it is to do that. We were there till 4:30 in the morning, so trying to reconcile our accounts. And Holly Leo, the chairperson of the Blue Star Trail Bike Committee, is ready to reestablish that committee and get us back together and get working on it. So stay tuned for more information on that. Did I miss anybody, or anybody want to add something? Okay, we're up to Griffin. Griffin's report.
Thank you. I am going to see if I can stop sharing this for just a second and put up something else. Are you all able to see an Excel sheet?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first item I just want to take a few minutes to go over with you all. I know, kind of in continuation of the discussion we've been having for the last year and a half about organizational infrastructure and how can we set up policies, processes, and procedures that not only benefit our organization now, but also set it up to be successful moving forward. So in continuation of all our policy handbooks, one of the next things I've been trying to take some time to work on is a township hall maintenance plan and replacement schedule. This also falls very closely in alignment with the other township board goal of reviewing our facilities and being attacked by flies. With township facilities and potential renovations or potential facility improvements moving forward. So in all of that, you've heard me say on numerous occasions, the first step is we need to take care of what we have. And to take care of what we have, we first need to know what we have. So one of the items I've been working on is first a condition assessment. So I worked to create lists of all of the major kind of capital operational assets associated with the township hall, things you would think of as very rudimentary, things like furnaces and telephones and servers and kitchen appliances and our parking lot, our roof, the foundation, and so on and so forth. I've had the opportunity at this point to get many of them professionally inspected and start to get an idea of at what point these items may need to be replaced or to have some kind of maintenance work done on them. I also was able to work with a lot of assistance from IT Right, our technology consultant, to put together a list of the different workstations and computers, our recently replaced server, as well as some of our other network technologies and printers we have. And all of that being said, start to put together a replacement schedule. So this is very new in the process. I know some conversations I've had with you all, the fire department has a really developed one for a lot of their capital assets and equipment. And at this point, ours is quite simple, but I'm hoping it's something we can build on moving forward. But the goal of it is, instead of each year when we go to budget going, okay, let's make an educated, but let's make a guess of what we might need to replace, what might go wrong, what might we need to inspect this year. How about we start to be a little bit more proactive and start some of these things on a schedule? So for example, what I'd like to show is, instead of in a year, we go, wow, we had computers start to fail, we start to replace them on an annual and rotating basis, so we can start to be more proactive and avoid things like server crashes like we had last year, or avoid other unforeseen issues. Not to say that they will never happen, but how can we do things like start to get furnaces and air conditioners that are 30 years old replaced now when we're starting to have minor issues, instead of in the future I have to come to you all and say the township hall has no air conditioning because all of our air conditioners broke. So to not bore you all, I think the big point of this is going to be a budgeting tool. It's where we'll be able to go to something like this and go, okay, in all of these different funds, this is the amount of money based on this condition assessment and based on these schedules that we need to start including annually. Right now, I've got it set up for a 10-year period, but the goal would be we can eventually build on this and again, continue to update it and make it more accurate. But I think at this point, it's more of a starting point, but I just wanted to show you all, there's no need for any formal action, but more than anything, just to make you all aware of something that staff has been working on. With that, my few other updates for you all are the wellhead protection ordinance. I know that was something the board's been interested in. John mentioned that the Planning Commission tabled it and asked for some additional guidance from our groundwater consultant, as well as the township attorney. So that is progressing. Staff has been spending some time working with various real estate agents, developers, and property owners, exploring 2 different water main projects, one along Wiley Road and one along 66th Street. Both of these, if they are to move forward, would eventually more than likely need some kind of action by the township board, either in terms of establishing special assessment districts or potential buyback agreements or oversizing agreements like we have in the past. But at this point, we're more in the conceptual phase of some of these. So that's something staff is spending time on. As Supervisor Osmond mentioned, we are going to be kicking off the rate study here at the end of the week, which is going to be a major investment of staff time and resources. But as we all discussed, will be another one of those items that will really set us up to be successful moving forward. The road plan updates and funding review is also commencing. I am expecting an update from the engineering firm later this week or next week on that, and I will update you when I know more. In terms of Lakeshore Drive, I'm pleased to share that last week, the Allegan County Road Commission authorized their managing director, Craig Atwood, and a consulting firm to put together a grant application for the Coastal Zone Management Grant. This would be in preparation for a potential FEMA grant in another year, all of which add up to we are continuing to progress on long-term solutions for Lakeshore Drive. And at this point, we are starting to complete grant applications to make some of the major investments needed, first in cost benefit analysis and rate studies and so on and so forth, and then eventually to the actual engineering and construction of what could be a long-term alternative access route. With that, I share not only because it's positive news for the township, but more than likely the township board will be asked to adopt a resolution in support of that grant application moving forward. I would anticipate as soon as the next meeting in December. So just want to put that in the back of all of your head. I've also been spending a lot of time following last week's election, putting together a memo for the township board on the tax limitation proposal, the Allegan County tax limitation proposal that was passed by the county electorate last week, to not only update you all on the situation, but to start to give you all some food for thought and some suggestions and guidance on how that may impact the township moving forward, as well as some things for you all to think about in preparation for the goal setting workshop we discussed. My goal is to get that out to you by the end of the week or at the latest early next week, so you all have several weeks to digest it. I will admit the memo itself is going to be dense, but I will also summarize it in a way for you all to see the takeaways. In short, at this point, my guidance to you all would be, please start having conversations with your constituents about that proposal that was passed, and for what you all know at this point, what potential impacts that may have. I think getting some public participation and engaging your constituents upon what we may be able to utilize that capacity for will go a long ways when it comes to the board starting to provide staff direction on how and if to utilize that additional capacity. I'm happy to discuss that more tonight, but otherwise I would just say that's kind of a brief introduction to a memo I will hopefully have to you all in the upcoming week. And then lastly, just looking ahead, surprised or not, we've already got relatively full agendas for the next 2 meetings in December. We're going to have items such as hopefully a presentation on the annual audit, the 2021 poverty exemption guidelines, 2022 road projects and road plan update, and 2021 township board meeting schedule. Because if you can imagine, next month will be the last meeting of the 2020 year. And then we're already going to be to January, which some items coming up are going to be the 2021 township board goals, the 2020 annual report presentation that I will work to put together, encompassing an overview of the advancement of the township board's goals over this year, and reviewing some cemetery ballot language as was directed at the last meeting. So with that, that concludes my manager's report. I'm happy to discuss any of those items in more detail or answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Graham now, or you would be encouraged to make an appointment with him to discuss any of those topics? No questions now. We'll move on to the public comments. Is there anyone in the public comment section that would like to make themselves heard and address the board? Mr. Wieringa, you're muted. You're muted.
No, I'm not muted, right?
Yeah, now you're good.
Got me? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I came to the meeting late. I thought it was 7 and not 6, so I missed the opening comments. But I just wanted to address you tonight. First, I wanted to just thank Mr. Graham and Ms. Wells for listening to the Van Horn neighbor complaints and comments and complaints regarding the unpermitted sand mining that was taking place and taking action to stop that sand mining. We're also aware the Eagle has taken action and appreciate that as well. I understand that there has been hesitation on the part of the Planning Commission to address the size of the pond, given the fact that Eagle has stated that they did an aerial observation and that they didn't have an issue. However, Eagle has never stated that they actually measured the pond or provided the determination of the acreage. And I know, previously we've done some like pacing it off and stuff, and I understand that that's pretty rudimentary, but I wanted to let you know of a new development. Recently, we have an aerial high definition photo of the entire property, and we've been able to use that to have a couple more accurate measurements of the pond. One is by overlaying it onto the actual Allegan County GIS website that you can use to calculate acreage. And then we also had an engineer who has a planimeter, which I'd never heard of, but it's a tool, it's kind of like a compass or something, and you can trace a non-rectangular area and come up with the acreage. Both methods came up with about 6.3 to 6.4 acres. And then, so based on that, we feel like, and we're happy to share those actual documents, but we feel like we can provide enough proof that you can go to Mr. Van Horn and require him to pay for a survey so that he can prove that the pond was built as designed, something that John Helmrich commented on earlier. Actually had a conversation this morning with an attorney who was kind of familiar with this stuff, and they felt that it would be within the planning committee's rights to request Mr. Van Horn to pay for that. And then if it proves that the pond was built larger than permitted, the neighbors would like to see the planning commission require Mr. Van Horn to rectify the situation by filling it back in so that it's under 5 acres or as permitted. And then also we just like to see the planning commission fully revoke the SAU given to Mr. Van Horn. He's shown a blatant disregard for the terms of the SAU. And I just wanted to make sure that the township board was aware of these things as well. We're communicating with the planning commission, but just wanted to know, let you guys know what the neighbors' feelings are. And
Mr. Wieringa, Mr. Wieringa, these comments are, you got.
Yeah, I'm done. I wanted to say thank you. It was fun listening to you guys. You work really well together. And I've never been involved in this kind of stuff before, so it's really fun to listen to you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Stearns, do you have something that you'd like to address to the public comments?
No, I yield my time.
Okay. Mr. McElwain? I'm taking this as a no, but you are muted, so if you want to say something, please unmute yourself and let us know.
Just unmuted, and I'd just like to say that Scott fully expressed the neighbors' feelings on the Van Horn ski mountain. So thank you for taking. Oh, I did have one other thing. I can't read. Back in the single haul of trash, which was brought up earlier tonight, another comment made by a board member, the same board member, was that he was trying to equate single haul of trash to telling people what plumber they had to use. So that's how bad it got. I just wanted you all to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Our next scheduled meeting is for December 5 for our special meeting, and our next regular meeting is for December 9. That would be a Wednesday at 6 p.m. And at this time, I think I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. This is Marcy.
Okay, support?
I'll support Aldrich.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osman, yes. Meeting is adjourned.